So, thank you for taking part in this breakout discussion. Before I introduce our two speakers, you'll see there's a map behind me. It shows where participants who are attending in person come from. You come from 48 different countries. If we included everyone attending online as well, that makes it over 90 countries. And now to tell you very briefly a little bit about our guests today. Helen Dobby is an IT project officer in the AI-based services team at DG Translation. She is part of the business analysis and AI prompt engineering team. She's also joint coordinator of the AI at EC Network, the European Commission's community to set up and identify and explore potential AI use cases to build knowledge and awareness of AI. Today, she'll share her experiences of developing the Commission's accessible text service, which helps generate a first draft of easy-to-read content. Hester Benedictus is a political scientist and a public policy maker in social and healthcare policy, focusing on people with a lower level of education, those living on benefits, and other underprivileged members of society. In 2023, her team won the Amsterdam AI Hackathon's most mind-blowing category with the Lees Simpel app, which helps people with low literacy skills read and understand complex government letters. Her team has also developed Lees Simpel, currently in the beta testing phase, to help and inspire organizations to use plain language in the first place. But she'll tell you much more about these apps in her presentation. Before handing over to Hester, can I ask you to hang on to your questions till the end of her presentation, and then we will have a proper Q&A session. So over to Hester now.
Thank you. Thank you, Marina. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much. Where should I be standing? Because I would like to move around. Yes, oh, that's great. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm very grateful to be here. And actually, you told a lot about my presentation already. I will start off with a little bit of information about the problem of complicated letters and complicated government information in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, more than 3 million people have low literacy skills. I think it's about 3.3 million at the moment. And that's people who have difficulties understanding complex or even normal letters from government. Letters which sometimes contain very important information for people. And the most vulnerable people always get the most letters because they tend to use the most services, which is sort of ironic in a way if you think about it. It's not their fault. 30% of people in the Netherlands say that government letters are too complicated. And if you don't understand what the letter says, and you don't know what to do, it may have huge consequences. You may miss an appointment, you may not pay a bill. Financial consequences, but also a lot of stress and dependency, always having to ask somebody else for help. As Marina already mentioned, I'm a public policy maker, and I participated in 2022. I got interested in artificial intelligence, AI, and in 2023 I participated in this hackathon. And I thought, what if we could build an app that helps people understand those complicated letters? What if you can build an app and you can take a picture with your phone, and the app gives you a summary in easy-to-read language. So not plain, but easy to read. So we built it, got a great team together with a great developers and a great designer. And within 24 hours, we had a working prototype of the Lees Simpel app. Like the Simple app, you can call it, or simply read it. And it does exactly that. It summarizes difficult letters in easy-to-read language. And we wanted the app to be... And we got a lot of publicity, and very many people were very enthusiastic about the idea. And they said, can't you make this and ship this and make it available for everyone to use? So that's what we did. We wanted to be a free app because it's for a target population that doesn't have a lot of money to spend. And also, like, we didn't want to have people need to make an account, because already making an account is a difficult thing to do digitally, and people with low literacy skills also have low digital skills. So we shipped it. It works exactly like this. It needed to be an organization, so it's a foundation now. It's a non-profit. And in the Netherlands and in Belgium, it has been downloaded for more than 200 times, and it has simplified 1 million or more than 1 million letters. We also included a button with which you can read the summary out loud, and it also translates the summary in 6 languages, so like English, Arabic, Turkish, Ukrainian, and we recently added Polish and Bulgarian as languages for our labor migrant communities. For people in the Netherlands and in Belgium, if you want to try it out, you can download it. It's for free. You don't have to make an account. But if you live and work in another country, it probably won't work for you. So don't be disappointed if you are from another country and it doesn't work. So what happened actually was that many people, and we really liked this, of course, many people started in communications departments, started to use the Lees Simpel app as a writing tool, which is perfect. And they use it to check their drafts before they send out the letter to the public. Is my main message clear enough? Can I make it more simple? And of course it's perfect, because I mean it's totally crazy that people would be needing an app to help them understand letters. So you want to solve the problem at its source, where the letters come from, at the organizations who write those letters. So we thought we should help the organizations who write those letters. And at first we included a button within the Lees Simpel app so that you could share the summary to yourself and then rewrite it, but it's of course a bit complicated. And we wanted to make it as frictionless as possible, because it is already difficult enough to write in plain language. Let's make this very easy. And it is also suits our mission. The mission of our foundation is to help, to make all letters clear and easy to understand for everyone. So it sort of suited our mission as well, to start helping the writers. And we wanted to have sort of multiple purposes, not only for people to be able to check drafts, like is my main message clear enough, can I make it even clearer, but also to provide a new starting point for people who rewrite like a whole set of letters. And then you can start like from a different starting point. Instead of like if you have to rewrite letters by committee, as the panel was referring to as well, you can start at the original letter, or you can just start at the plain version and discuss with each other. And what do we miss? What has to be added? And that's probably easier. We also wanted to inspire, to help all those ambassadors within organizations who support and encourage a plain language to sort of like help their colleagues write in plain language, and for people to also learn and understand what plain language is. So to provide a lot of examples. If you see a lot of examples in plain language, it's sort of like it's getting to you what it actually is. So it's not, we didn't want it to be like a simple office writing tool, but something that could really contribute to like raising awareness about plain language, what it is, and how you can do this. And we already had the Simpel app, like Lees Simpel or Simply Read It, and this is called Schrijf Simpel, Write Simply. And I'm quickly going through this. I'll check my time. It works pretty easy. As I said, we wanted to take any friction away. So you can just upload or paste a text, press a button, and you get a version in plain language instantly. And also, in the white box on the left-hand side, you see the plain version, and in the right-hand side, you see the comments. So, what has been improved, and why is that better? Of course, we don't expect the tool to rewrite the perfect letter, because a perfect letter doesn't exist if you don't have the total awareness of the context, which also the panel this morning referred to. People have to check, and we wanted to facilitate that as well. So you can, like, if you, I don't have the red button here, but if you can also compare the text with the original, the outcome with the original. And we actually encourage this, and it's also a matter of principle, right? I mean, AI has to be checked. You have to have the human in the loop. So this is something that can help writers, but it will and cannot take over your job as a communications professional or an editor. It always has to be checked. And the funny thing is that sometimes people say, aren't you afraid that it will just be like people will use the tool and send the letter unseen? But I know communication professionals and writers, and they're sort of strong-minded people, and they're strong-minded about their text, so they're always comparing. I don't have to invite them to compare. They will always compare. And I've written all those things myself, so I know exactly how this works. And that's brilliant, because that's exactly what we want. So if your organization uses, has a different guidelines, or if there is a particular word that is very sensitive, that is something that you know and that you can adjust in the outcome. So you can save the simplified version. And you have to save it, don't forget it, because we don't store anything. We don't want to store anything. We're a privacy-first tool, so we don't want to store any texts. So you have to store it yourself, or copy-paste it back into your text editor. And we always ask for feedback, because we're still developing the tool. It's live already, only in the Netherlands and Belgium, I have to add again. And we do read all the feedback. So we don't read any, and we don't see, and we don't read any of the other things that you put in, but we do see the feedback. We love feedback, so if you want to try it out, please tell us. We recently did a pilot in the Netherlands with the municipality of The Hague, which is like one of the 4 major cities in the Netherlands. We presented the results yesterday at another conference, and they were very, very positive about the tool, which is really nice. And they say it's just as if a writing coach sort of helps you with this. And so that's like in a nutshell how we develop tools with AI to help people writing in plain language. But we are not so widely available, so Helen will, after my talk and the questions that you may have, Helen will tell you so much more about everything that the European Commission is working on to provide similar services and to also help people write in plain language. So this is Lees Simpel. So a bit of an inspirational story in a way. So the Slido people, I think the idea is up. Are there any, what are your questions? And the people who are at home, they can join us on Slido and ask their questions. Yes, that's correct. So we will also see the questions that are being asked. But I would like to start, is there somebody in the audience here? And then I'll go to the, yes. Yeah.
There's no Chinese version. And so my question is, have you been asked about creating the app in other languages for people and in other countries?
Yes, yes. The Lees Simpel app, so for the recipients of letters, we've been getting those questions. We are, at this moment, we are funded by ING Netherlands Fund, so we have limited funding, so we cannot distribute the app for all of Europe, and it also has quality reasons. We want to be able to check the languages and to check the output. So I know it's technically possible to rush it into any language, but we, like from principle and from quality purposes, we don't do that. Yeah. Yes, this is a privacy question. How is the confidentiality of the person's documents and data is ensured if the app or system processes the text to summarize and translate it? I actually have a slide for that. Can you go back to the presentation, because I expected this question. This is about Lees Simpel and about the writing tool as well. We don't see or store any texts at all. We do use an AI model, and we need that to simplify the texts. If you use an AI language model through the API, you can make arrangements, DPAs, with the providers of those tools. And we have arrangements that they don't use any of our texts for training purposes. So nothing of the input ends up in the language model. They have to be able to check if people don't use their language models for illegal purposes, like abuse monitoring. And for that purpose only, it's being stored a couple of days, and then everything is being deleted there as well. So that's what happens to the data. We would love to have, like within the whole framework of digital autonomy, give us small local models that can run on your own device. But unfortunately, we are not there yet. But that's like our dream for the future. We do see your feedback. That's what I also want to add. Can we go back to the... Is there a question from the audience? Yes, over there. The microphone is...
Obviously, coders and programmers, or and sort of roughly some idea of cost to create the app?
We started off as a social initiative, so we put our own time in it at the beginning. And resources, we have a brilliant designer who is actually able to find ways to make apps as easily accessible as possible, which is a brilliant skill. I'm always in awe of what he's doing. And we have great programmers and people who worked with, like we have, in Corona times, we had an app Corona Melder, and a person who's working on this app is also working on Lees Simpel. So we just have very, very good programmers as well. Yeah.
Work there. No, there I am. Have you tested it against, like, you can just put a letter into ChatGPT and have it simplified. So have you tested the results against publicly available things?
Yes, I also expected this question. So can we go back to the slides again? So I think what we did was, of course, anyone can use any freely available tool and ask the tool to simplify it in plain language. What we know is that it takes a while to optimize the prompt, and you have to prompt it and reprompt it and reprompt it and test it again, and then test it with, I don't know, 40, 50 letters, and then optimize it again. So it's a whole process of testing and evaluation. We did that for you in order to sort of like guarantee consistent outcomes. So this is optimized for plain language. And we also make it faster and easier because you don't have to prompt it anymore. And we want to facilitate the comparison between the original and the output, and we want to give people advice and like what did we improve, and those are things that aren't I mean, you can do the whole prompting thing probably with ChatGPT, but it will cost you so much more time. And we want to make it as frictionless as possible so that everybody finally starts writing in plain language. Yes, I think it's the final one, because Helen also... even kijken. If people, because I really have to, Helen has to start, so I will take one question from the audience, and all the people who have questions can reach out to us and ask, and I will answer them. Yes. Here.
Are you sure you really hit the target audience? How many users have you recorded? Because I mean, I think it's very important to communicate very well. And communication is quite expensive.
Yeah, with Lees Simpel, like the reading aid, we work together with lots of societal organizations in the Netherlands who work with the target audience, because you're totally right, it's very hard to reach target population, but we work with the people around the target population who tell people about the tool, which is really nice. That's why I think it has like 200,000 downloads at the moment. For the writing tool, we are actually starting to communicate about this now. So, there are a lot of networks and organizations within the Netherlands. That we know that I also I will hand over to Helen from
Okay, bear with me. Thank you very much, Hester. I hope so. That's not too close, not too far away. Whoops. Yes. So, is it still morning? Good morning. My name is Helen Dobby. My name is Helen Dobby, as Marina and Hester mentioned earlier. I work at the European Commission in DG Translation, and more specifically, I actually work as a prompt engineer in the AI innovation team. And we work on developing applications to automate complex tasks, writing tasks. And just like Hester, I'm here to showcase how we've been harnessing artificial intelligence in a positive way to support plain language, inclusion, and accessibility across the EU. And before I do that, let me just give you a quick overview of the platform where all of these tools that we develop live. So here it is. This is the Digital Europe AI-based multilingual services platform, which trips off the tongue. And when you visit the website, or you can visit the stand outside, we have a stand in the coffee area, you'll see we offer a wide range of task-specific AI-based services, and they're all designed to help you with writing tasks, especially complex ones. And they range from e-translation, which is where all our AI initiatives began in the Commission back in 2017, to tools that help you draft summaries, briefings, that can analyze complex documents, and even prepare replies to certain complex types of document. And you can find out more by scanning the QR code on screen. And if you're in the room, obviously you can also go outside and visit the stand and talk to my colleagues who will be there and happy to help you and tell you a bit more about the services. And the basic idea behind all of them is very much like Hester described for her two services. It's a simple idea that you upload a document or a set of documents. You press a button, submit button, and you receive your results in Word usually. So you don't need any prompt engineering skills, and you get a consistently good result. And the idea is that this is a first draft to give you a head start in your drafting. But then the human or the writer will do the expert final polish. So we're just using AI to automate the repetitive aspects of writing tasks like this. So our services, just quickly, you can register on the platform if you're eligible. They're open to EU institutions, public administrations in EU countries, as well as universities, SMEs, and NGOs. And all of our services help you to write more clearly and in a more structured way. But I'm going to focus on the tools that are specifically designed for plain language and inclusion. So these are the ones that take complex writing tasks and transform your writing into something that's clear and readable for everyone. So how do we actually build these tools? Well, this is where prompt engineering comes in, and that's what I'm working on with my team. And what does a prompt engineer do? So let's break it down. A prompt is basically, for anyone who doesn't know, it's just an instruction that you give to the AI, and it could be a question or a task or a set of rules, for example. And it's really about designing those instructions carefully so that the output you get is actually useful and reliable and consistently good, as Hester was also saying. And you need to frame your goal very clearly and set some constraints, maybe a role for the AI to perform, and so on. And then you keep testing, refining, and iterating until you get a result that you're happy with. Now, this is a quote from a really fantastic book called AI Engineering by Chip Wen. And I really recommend it if you want to delve deeper into AI and into building AI applications. And I really love this analogy. She says that you can think of prompt engineering as human to AI communication. So you're communicating with AI models to get them to do what you want. And the thing is, she says that anyone can communicate, but not everyone can communicate effectively. And in a similar way, it's easy to write prompts, but it's not easy to construct really effective prompts. So just like in human communication, clarity, context, and precision matter. And so the better you communicate what you want to get from the AI, the better the result you will get out in the end. So, let me now show you what this looks like in practice with some real examples of our plain language tools. And let's start taking a look at web text. I think it was mentioned at the end of the previous panel. And yes, the key word here is simple. So web text is a tool that takes either existing web text that needs some improvement, or it can take very long documents and optimize that for online reading. So it will condense the content into clear, accessible web pages or web content. The output comes in Word, but then you can edit it and put it online. And why this is important, I think probably I'm preaching to the converted here, but why this is important is because if your content is too long or too complex, people simply won't read it, and then your message won't get through. So web text helps to solve that problem. And it does this by following, of course, the core web writing principles, which are being clear and concise, using short sentences, plain language, structuring the content with headings and bullet points, not too many, and putting the key information first to really match how people actually read online. And now if I show you a concrete example of how this would work, this is a brochure called The EU in 2024, maybe you know it, and it's our annual publication about the activities of the EU. It's 180 pages long, and the content itself is very good. It's well researched, well written, it's accurate, but of course it's written in a style that's suited for a publication, something that you might download as a PDF or that you might even read in a printed format. So that's not going to work so well for people reading online who want to access and understand information in just a few seconds. So how can we condense this for online reading without losing all the main messages? So web text transforms those pages into a single page. So this is actually a screen, you can't see it very well, but there's a screenshot of the output, and it came in Word, and it's typically 1 to 2 pages. In this case, it was 1. And it manages to pull out all the key achievements of the EU, the priorities, and restructures everything with key headings and short paragraphs. Now, I've circled here 2 of the paragraphs that I just want to highlight in a bit more detail. So let me zoom in so you can actually hopefully read them a little bit. This is the first paragraph that was at the top of the page. And yeah, as you can see, there's shorter sentences, clearer language. It's quite scannable, and they've actually managed to get all of the key achievements and priorities summarized in basically 2 lines. So they're highlighting that the support for Ukraine, social fairness, and tackling climate change, for example. So it's picked out all those key points. Now, here is a second paragraph from later on about digital transformation, and you can see, again, it's clear and scannable. It's following all these clear writing rules for plain language, using the active voice and so on. And in other words, the prompt that we have written and iterated on is telling the AI exactly how to structure and rewrite. And I think this is what Hester was saying. You could use a chatbot like ChatGPT, but you might have to do many, many iterations to get something that's exactly how you want it, whereas this, you press a button and it's done. And so that's how we get consistent results every single time. And just one other important point is that web text, I think since about a week ago, is now available in all EU languages, hopefully. I think it possibly even works in some other languages, but again, we also haven't tested for those. So you can upload a text in any EU language. You can actually upload several documents at one time, but you'll get a summary, a web text version of each of them, and not a combination. So this is just one way of making important information accessible to more people, regardless of what language they speak. Where is the... excuse me. Sorry, just bear with me. Right. So if we just... Oh, thank you very much. Didn't plan that. Okay, so... Yes, so it's another way of making information available across the whole of Europe. So now if we take a look at the other use case or challenge that we've been working on, which is accessible text, and this is very similar to Hester's tool, and I didn't actually know this existed until this conference happened, so we were very pleased to meet each other. So accessible text is a tool to create easy-to-read content, as Hester said, specifically for people with learning disabilities in this case. And again, the goal is simple. It is just to make EU information genuinely easier to read and understand for everyone. And easy to read information helps people with learning disabilities to learn new things, take part in society, understand their rights, make informed choices. And as we were saying earlier, it matters because it gives people access to everyday information that they need for their lives, like healthcare advice, housing information, and legal guidance, so they can make their own decisions independently. I think one of the key differences between our tools and Hester's easy reading tool is these tools are not aimed directly at the end user. These are aimed at communication professionals. So this is a first draft, which will give you a head start in drafting an easy to read text or a web text. But again, you would rely on the human in the loop to then go through that text and make sure it's reflecting the original accurately and it is passing the messages that you want. So that's one of the differences. And of course, while this tool is designed primarily for people with learning disabilities, easy-to-read formats can also help many others as well. So people with lower literacy levels, non-native speakers reading in a second, third, fourth language, older adults, I'm increasingly falling into this category, and really anyone under time pressure or stress. It's hard to read things when you're very stressed. And so again, here's an example of a press release. So this has not been rewritten yet. So this is a press release about EU financial literacy initiatives. And you can see the headline is that the EU is going to boost financial literacy investment opportunities for citizens. This is actually a press release on our press corner of the European Commission, and to the right is you can also download that as a PDF. Now again, this is really well written for its intended audience, which is more journalists and policy professionals and so on. But if people with learning disabilities need to access this same information, that's where accessible text can be useful. because simpler language will help everybody to understand better. And I just, again, you get a 1 page or maximum 2 pages usually of output from our tool. And I've just copied a couple of paragraphs from the output when I input this press release. And it's just a little extract, so you can see it's very short sentences here. Uses much simpler vocabulary, really has just one idea at a time. And so it will say things like the European Commission just wants people to understand money better. And that's very clear. Anyone can understand this. It's the same information, but it's just presented in a more accessible way that everyone can understand. And this is another short, just paragraph from the same output when we put this press release in. Yes, same simple language. Yes, the prompt makes sure that we avoid abbreviations, that we don't use jargon, or if we do use jargon, it's explained. And actually, one of the features of Easy Read is also repeating key information and again, using everyday words. So yeah, right now it says, many people in Europe do not know much about money. So that's simple and direct and clear. And these are not just stylistic choices, they're specific rules from Inclusion Europe, which has written guidelines on writing easy-to-read texts. And we have tried to get the AI to follow those and apply those guidelines consistently through very careful prompt engineering. Now, this service is available in English, French and German at the moment, but we're also expanding it to all EU languages. And again, I think as Hester was saying, it's technically, it's possible already, it's getting there, but it's also making sure with speakers of all of those languages that the output is consistently good. And so every service that you've seen just now, the web text, accessible text, none of them started as finished products. They started actually as experiments in our AI lab. So let me give you a sneak peek at how we work and what's coming next and what we're developing. So perhaps if I show you first where we experiment, which is what we call our AI lab, and this is an experimental environment where we test new ideas, and it's where the innovation happens. And I mean, you can't see very well, it's not available to the public, but it's available within the EU institutions to people who are helping us to test our prototypes. And this is the lab environment. And the key thing is this mimics the real services. And the only difference is that the prompts here are visible and editable. I think that's how you say it. Whereas in the real thing, they're not visible at all because it's a one-button kind of service and for consistency. But here we can co-create with stakeholders across the Commission to people who are expert in this case in accessibility or easy read, but also for our other tools, for instance, in writing briefings, and they can also experiment with the prompt. And so that in that way we co-design these services. And just to show you a little bit how it looks. On the left-hand side, we have a list of all the prototypes. We're working on all of the prompts, basically. So we're working on one for court cases, there's one on images, which I'll come to in a second. And then when I said you can access the prompt, just to give you a rough idea, I don't know how visible that is, but there's just a little extract from one of the prompts, but they're actually quite long. And this is where users can play around, and this is how we experiment, basically. So that's just a quick look at the interface. And as I said, we co-design the prompts with other people who know their particular tasks really well and inside out. And that can be accessibility experts, policy officers, people writing briefings, or communications professionals, and so on. And speaking of accessibility, let me show you a very new prototype that we just launched. And this is a prototype service to generate alternative text for images, so alt text or alternative text, which is used on websites in particular to describe images for blind people who are using screen readers, for example. And it's a way of making visual content accessible to everyone. So how this service will work, or is working at the moment, is you upload an image and the AI will generate a short descriptive text. So in this case, in case you were wondering, it's a vanilla cupcake with swirled white frosting. I won't carry on, some colourful sprinkles. And yes, so it works very well for photographs like this. But it also works well for much more complex images like graphs and charts. So here, this is a screenshot, actually, of a graph from Eurostat about employment and labour statistics in the EU. So we can actually upload this as an image to our prototype, and it will generate a short description of the graph. This was using, I'll come back to that later, but we're using GPT-5 for this tool. And you see it's analysed that, and it's telling us that employment is falling until 2013, and it climbs steadily and peaks in 2019, and so on. But it will also simultaneously generate a much longer description, which is something required for charts and graphs of these kind, also for infographics. We haven't got to that yet. So this is a snapshot of what the long description looks like. Again, it is delivered in Word, but I've put it onto the slide. And you probably can't see very well here, but it's automatically generated sections describing the axes, the employment rate trends here, and some labour market analysis. And I put a box around the last paragraph, which is, it sums up the overall message. So if I just zoom in on this. And this is a little extract. Actually, the long description is very long. It's a couple of pages, I think, at least. But anyway, this is a little extract of the message. And it, again, it's just saying from the labour market tightened from 2013 to 2019, and talks about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, how it affected the growth and reduced unemployment, and so on. So that's just a little extract. So it just produced that from reading this image. So these are just a few examples of what we've been developing in our AI lab. And I guess the key takeaway is that AI can be a powerful tool for plain language and inclusion. I know it gets a bad rap sometimes, but when it's designed thoughtfully and co-created with users and always keeps the human in the loop, it can work very well. So just to finish off, if you do want to try our services or learn more about our work, please scan the QR code. And if you happen to be in the room, and you're most welcome to visit our AI stand somewhere near the buffet. And yes, so thank you very much. I think at this point, if there's time, I can take a couple of questions. Thank you. Right, okay. Maybe this lady here in the front? Okay, yeah.
Thank you. This is very interesting. I'm particularly interested in the summarization you mentioned. I've completed advanced AI for editors courses, and it's changing very quickly, of course, but my understanding is that the only current AI tool that can handle such large documents, you know, you gave the example of 180 pages, is Notebook LM. So I have two questions. One is your web text built on an AI, a Gen AI like Notebook LM or ChatGPT or something, or did you build it yourself? You're nodding on the first one. And then my second question is, if you did build it yourself, that's incredible. And do you, when you've summarized 180 pages, is it that you have summarized it in sections rather than the entire 180 pages? Because we know that for most Gen AI tools, it sort of loses interest after a certain number of pages. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is it working? Okay, yes, so no, we didn't build the large language model ourselves. I wish I could say we had, but no. We're using also models from OpenAI, and mostly at the moment GPT-4 in the services that are live at the moment, and we're experimenting in the background with GPT-5, but also with a little bit with a European model called Mixtral. Sorry, what was it? And the other question? Yes, the chunking. Sorry. So it depends. So we have various different services, and in these cases, it's a bit simpler. So no, I think there's a complex workflow in the background where the text is extracted from what you uploaded and passed through various systems. And in this case, for web text and accessible text, I think it takes the whole text that you upload into consideration. And I think it's a document of, it's 20 megabytes, one document if you upload. So it's by file size rather than the number of words. But we have some other services where indeed, where we're generating briefings and the prompts themselves are 20 pages long if you print them out. And in those cases, yes, sometimes we're generating a summary first, if that works well, and then working off of that. So it really depends on the use case. But for these two, no. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, this is Kirill Solovyov from Content Quo. Great presentation. Question about the prompts. What was your experience with writing prompts in different languages? And how would the performance, in your experience, compare with using English language prompts?
Yes, that's a very good question. So at the moment, we are writing the prompts in English, and the services start off in the English language. And when we started to expand there are many different services, and some of the other ones that we offer, they use the large language model to translate whatever you upload into English, then do its work, and then the output is usually translated by e-translation, which is a more reliable system. But in the case of web text and easy to read, yes, I also assumed about a year ago that we would need to write the prompts in that language, and perhaps that day will come. But at the moment, the prompt is written in English, and we've just experimented with different phrasing to ask the model and make it understand that it can that if you upload a Slovenian text, I think I have this in the prompts, then you want the output in Slovenian. So at the moment it's like that. I don't know how much longer that's sustainable for, or whether what the difference is. I mean, I personally haven't experimented a lot in other languages, but yeah, that's the situation at the moment.
Yes? Okay. Thank you. I'm Marina. I have two questions. One is, you talked about using GPTs. I'm assuming you're using them through APIs in your workflow, or are you using them locally? And the other question related to this, if you're not using them locally, how do you handle privacy? A lot of the information you share seems to be public information, but are you otherwise using confidential computing in the background, if not?
Yes, that's also a very good question that I didn't mention. So we're using, the models that we're using are the OpenAI models, but we're using them via Microsoft Azure in the cloud, and it's a completely secure corporate environment. And just like Hester was saying, we have no access to the information. Also, Microsoft have no access to the data. And I think, if I'm right, the models that we use, the data doesn't even leave Europe, so it's not stored anywhere. So it's completely secure. It's a very high level of security. So it's, I mean, I was thinking about it the other day, and it's a bit like almost the way you might use a calculator. So you input your numbers, you get your result, but the calculator's not remembering. In our case with the services, I forget the timeline. So it delivers the document. You have a day or two. I forget, maybe 2 or 3 days, 24 hours. Okay, and sometimes 72, depending on what it is. And once you, so once you've downloaded it, I think it will be deleted in 24 hours. That's right. But nobody has access to it in the meantime. We can't even read the titles of what you upload, which would also be confidential. I mean, we can't read anything, but we also can't read the titles. So, yes.
Hello. Yeah. Hello. Concerning the easy-to-read versions that you are providing, you have mentioned that you apply the guidelines from Inclusion Europe. Do you consider also conducting testing with users, because these guidelines consider this idea?
So I think that comes back to the other point that I mentioned before, is that at the moment, I mean, yes, it would be valuable to do that, but at the moment, it's not perfect. Especially the result from Easy Read, you know, I'm sure could be improved. But they're absolutely not designed that you just take the text and put it online, or even for the end user, because I think it would be very complicated to extract this for the end user. These are aimed at people who work potentially in communications, and they might want to create one of these texts. And I think Hester was also mentioning, and I think people forget, I think it's deceptively simple, easy read and plain language. People think because it's so easy to read that it's very easy to write. And I also spent years writing this stuff, and now I see that, okay, it actually does what I used to do, but it would take me all day. So that's kind of the situation. Oh, right. One last question? Yes. Mike?
Turning 180 pages into one page seems to be a bit extreme. You must surely be losing a lot of information. So is it possible to actually ask it to, say, give you a 20-page summary, or something a bit less extreme than that?
Yeah, that's actually quite a good point. At the moment, the prompt actually doesn't specify what the output length is. It decides itself based on what you input. So I haven't fully read this document, but I'm wondering if there's quite a lot of repetition in there. So, for example, with Easy Read, I would also see sometimes there are documents like this, and it just says the EU does this, the EU does that, and I think, okay, this is repeated many, many times in the document. But yes, that's something we could look into. But you can potentially upload any length. So yes, I'm sure it's missing some key points, and that would be something you would need to check. But it's aimed at people who would want to turn this into a web page. What you could also do, because we've now changed the system so that you can upload 10 of these 20 megabyte files in one go, and each one will be processed simultaneously but separately. So potentially you could upload portions of that document. But yeah, it's a good question, and maybe that's something we should bear in mind. I'm not sure if 180 pages is actually a typical use case. I just wanted to demonstrate that it can handle that. Okay, so do you want to? Okay. Sorry.
Okay, thank you all for your great questions, and I'm sorry we've run out of time, because I think we could have carried on for another 20 minutes with questions. This is such a fascinating subject. I'm sure you'd all like to join me in thanking our fantastic speakers, Hester and Helen. And now, to use that Americanism that's everywhere, we'll take a short comfort break. And the harvesting session will begin at 12:45 in this room. And by harvesting, it just means you'll learn about what happened in the other breakout discussions, as well as this one.